Guys, it's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Thursday, December 28th, 2023, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. So, Russian President Vladimir Putin allegedly told his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping during a meeting in March that Russia planned to continue its war against Ukraine for at least 5 more years. And this was reported by Nikkei Asia, citing anonymous sources. Okay, so if you remember, Putin flew to China earlier this year and he met Xi Jinping in person. And so apparently he told Xi Jinping that the war in Ukraine will last for at least 5 more years. So Putin is preparing for the long haul. Okay. There's no end in sight in Ukraine. The war is going to continue to escalate. The commander in chief of the Army of the Netherlands, General Martin Vijnen, has stated the need to be seriously prepared for a possible armed conflict with Russia. We must be seriously prepared for a possible armed conflict with Russia, Vijnen said in an interview with the Daily Telegraph. He also said the whole society must be prepared in case something goes wrong. The general emphasized that for citizens, this means that they must have food and drinking water to survive in emergency situations. So, this is huge news, guys. Okay. The commander in chief of the Army of the Netherlands stating that the Netherlands needs to be seriously prepared for a possible armed conflict with Russia. And he says that people in the Netherlands need to have emergency supplies in case things go wrong. So, this is yet another signal that NATO is preparing for war with Russia. Okay, we've seen Estonia placing anti tank obstacles on their border with Russia. Finland has closed down their entire border with Russia. They just signed a defense agreement with the United States, granting the U.S. access to 15 Finnish military bases across all of Finland, from the southern part of Finland all the way up to the Finnish Arctic. And also, Finland will allow the U.S. to store munitions on Finnish territory. Okay. So this is serious, guys. The Russian state corporation Rostec reports a sharp increase in the production of tanks, armored vehicles, and shells for the Russian army. This was stated by the head of Rostec, Sergei Chemezov. According to him, tank production has increased sevenfold in the last 2 years. Chemezov did not give any more specific figures. The production of armored vehicles, as he reported to Putin, has increased more than fivefold, and the production of ammunition from small arms to artillery shells has increased by 50 times. Okay, so Russia is spinning up their war production. They're gearing up for a long-term war, guys. Okay, and Russia has a lot of people that they can throw at the front lines, unlike Ukraine. Ukraine has a much smaller population than Russia has. They have less than 1/3 of the people that Russia has, and the Russian government has no issues with just continually sending waves of human meat to the front lines. Okay, China's defense ministry on Thursday urged the Asia Pacific to be on high alert as the United States steps up forward deployment in the region after reports of a U.S. plan to revive a Pacific airfield that launched the atomic bombings of Japan. The Chinese military is paying close attention to moves by the United States and will firmly safeguard China's maritime rights, security, and sovereignty in the region, Wu Qian, a spokesperson at the Defense Ministry, told a regular news conference. So China is now on high alert because the U.S. is going to be reviving an old base that they used to launch the atomic bombings on Japan. And the New York City Police Department will be out in full force at the Times Square New Year's Eve ball drop to protect revelers from pro Palestinian protesters who want to do bad things. Mayor Eric Adams said he is sure pro Palestinian protesters will try to interrupt the New Year's Eve ball drop in Times Square after already disrupting the annual Rockefeller Center Christmas tree lighting and the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade. We're sure there's going to be some type of attempt this year, the mayor said at a Tuesday news conference. Everyone looks for events like this if they want to do bad things, and the police department is on top of it. To prevent any sort of disruption, the NYPD is deploying thousands of officers to the area, both in uniform and in plain clothes. Officers will also be using different technologies and strategies to monitor any potential threats. The variety of tools, whether robots, drones, bomb sniffing dogs, and all those things are in play, former Deputy Commissioner Richard Esposito told CBS New York. They're going to be on alert for something different than what we've had in the past, but they are mostly concerned about the people who go out to enjoy their night, and they want to keep the protests and the freedom of speech from interfering with other people's freedoms and enjoying themselves. So, huge news, guys. Okay, New York City is on high alert for possible protests and probably also terrorism, I would imagine. They just don't want to say it, but they're also preparing for possible terror attacks. And Iran-backed militias targeted the Conoco military base where U.S. forces are stationed in eastern Syria. So another attack on a U.S. base today, which is probably going to push the official total number over 125 attacks on U.S. bases since the war started. And Walla News in Israel is reporting that Israel's defense minister and chief of staff have already approved plans to invade Lebanon. And near the town of Verbove in the Zaporizhia Oblast in southern Ukraine, Russian troops are again taking over areas that were liberated by the Ukrainians in the summer. This was reported by the Institute for the Study of War. So if you remember, Verbove was that little town just north of Melitopol, and the Ukrainians made a pocket over there, and they were trying to expand that pocket and then push south towards Melitopol. Well, it looks like that's not going to happen, and it looks like Russia is now taking that land back. And Maria Zakharova, the spokesperson for the Russian Foreign Ministry, stated that the European Union and Lithuania do not respect agreements on the transit of goods to Russia. And this could be a justification for Russia to invade Lithuania because Lithuania has been blocking Russian truckers from going to Russia from Belarus, because in order to get to Kaliningrad, they have to cross through Poland and Lithuania from Belarus, and Lithuania has been blocking those truckers from being able to cross. That's where the Suwalki Gap is, okay? The critical Suwalki Gap, which a lot of NATO war planners are afraid Russia could try to attack it and try to cut off the Baltics from the rest of NATO. And so now the Russian Foreign Ministry is basically accusing Lithuania that they're not respecting agreements on the transit of goods. Finland will be the first country to suffer in the event of an escalation of tensions between Russia and NATO due to its proximity to Russia, the RIA news agency citing a senior Russian diplomat as saying on Thursday. Mikhail Ulyanov, permanent representative of Russia to international organizations in Vienna, told RIA they had lived calmly and in peace and suddenly ended up between Russia and NATO as a member of NATO. But since they are our neighbors, if God forbid there is some escalation, they will be the first to suffer. So some pretty chilling words there. Ukraine and Hungary are preparing a meeting between Zelensky and Orban in the near future, the Ukrainian president's chief of staff reported today. And India's defense minister has promised retribution for those responsible for the recent attacks on a merchant vessel that was off the coast of India. He said, "Those who have carried out these attacks, we will find them from the bottom of the sea, and strict action will be taken against them." So this is huge news, guys. And India is doing an investigation into the attack, and it's looking more and more likely that it was a Shahed drone that was launched from Iran at this ship that was just 200 miles offshore of India. And the war in 2024 must be different from 2023, the head of Ukraine's armed forces said. Otherwise, we will face what I wrote about in the article in The Economist, said General Valery Zaluzny. Unfortunately, I must state that the enemy is not far behind us. So he's basically saying that if something major doesn't happen, Ukraine is going to lose the war. And he's saying that in 2024, they have to change their strategy. Okay, otherwise they're going to lose. And Russian President Vladimir Putin must be stopped in his war against Ukraine, or all of Europe will pay a much higher price, Moldova's pro-European president Maya Sandu said in an interview published on Wednesday. The U.S. Congress should act swiftly to renew the flow of aid to Ukraine, the State Department has said, after the White House announced what it said was the last remaining package of weapons available under the existing authorization. It is imperative that Congress act swiftly as soon as possible to advance our national security interests by helping Ukraine defend itself and secure itself, the State Department said in a statement, adding that the year's final package included air defense and artillery ammunition. Ukraine's air defense systems shot down 7 out of 8 Russian-launched Shahed drones overnight, the country's Air Force said on Thursday. Drones were downed in 3 central and southern regions, the Air Force said on Telegram, according to a report by Reuters. It was not clear whether the drone that was not shot down reached its target. The Russian Defense Ministry also said it thwarted a Ukrainian drone attack over Moscow-occupied Crimea overnight. So Russia's launching more drones at Ukraine into different areas of Ukraine that they weren't launching these drones at recently. They kind of slowed down. Now they're picking up. And yesterday they were shelling northern Ukraine, the Sumy Oblast. And Russian air defenses shot down 2 Sukhoi 25 planes of the Ukrainian Air Force in one day, said the Russian Ministry of Defense. We have to take that with a huge grain of salt. And in the Black Sea, a civilian ship flying the flag of Panama hit a Russian sea mine. And Russian authorities vastly and deliberately undercounted the dead in the flooding after the explosion that destroyed the Kakhovka Dam. An investigation by the Associated Press has found Russia said 59 people drowned in the territory it controls, but the Associated Press investigation claims the number is at least in the hundreds in the town of Oleshki alone. The United States has announced a fresh package of arms to Ukraine worth up to $250 million. And this update was sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Guys, My Patriot Supply is doing a 60% off sale for the end of 2023. And they're also doing a 25% sale on their 4-week emergency food supply. To get these deals, you have to go to preparewithnyprepper.com. The link is in the description below this video. And their 4-week emergency food supply is contained within 2 rugged, watertight buckets. Free shipping is included. So you have a month's worth of food packed into just 2 buckets. If you have to bug out, you can easily take those buckets with you. If you live in a small apartment, you can easily find a space to store 2 buckets, and you're going to be set for at least a month. And this food is freeze-dried, so it has a 25-year shelf life. It includes breakfasts, lunches, dinners, drinks, and snacks. Free shipping is included. And My Patriot Supply is also running a 60% off end-of-the-year sale. And to take advantage of that, you have to click on the My Patriot Supply logo when you get to preparewithnyprepper.com. It's at the top of the page. You click on that, and it'll take you to their general store. And you'll see here all kinds of prepping and survival products. They have MREs, they have 2,400 calorie emergency ration bars. They have canned heat and cooking fuel. They have potassium iodide, survival seeds, solar generators, solar panels, anything you can imagine. It's all in here. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get 25% off of their 1 month emergency food supply and to also take advantage of their 60% off sale across their entire store. And I'll leave a link in the description below this video. And Vladimir Zelensky thanked the United States for the fresh military aid package. In a post on Twitter, Zelensky wrote, "We must continue to respond to ongoing Russian aggression in the most forceful and resolute manner possible." Russian forces struck Vovchansk in the Kharkiv Oblast this morning, killing a 66-year-old woman and wounding another resident. And this is the first time in a while that Russia has attacked Kharkiv. And 2 Russian men have been sentenced to long prison terms for reading poems criticizing Russia's military attack on Ukraine. Artyom Komardin was sentenced to 7 years in prison, and Yegor Shtovba to 5 years and 6 months. Both men were convicted of inciting hatred and calling for activities threatening state security. And after weeks of false starts and delays, SpaceX teams are preparing again today to launch the U.S. military's secretive X-37B spaceplane on its 7th mission, the first atop a rocket capable of delivering it to a higher orbit than ever before. The SpaceX Falcon Heavy rocket is due for a nighttime blastoff from NASA's Kennedy Space Center at Cape Canaveral on Florida's Atlantic coast during a 10-minute launch window starting at 8:07 p.m. Eastern Time. It comes 2 weeks after China's own reusable robot spaceplane known as the Shenlong or Divine Dragon was launched on its 3rd mission to orbit since 2020. Okay, so the X-37B is that really weird-looking autonomous space plane. And Azerbaijan is close to a peace agreement with Armenia. Officials say Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev has met Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan for bilateral talks in St. Petersburg. In a rare sign of goodwill, the two sides swapped prisoners of war on the 13th of December and have issued a joint statement, one of the first not to be mediated by a third party. The two sides have now exchanged 7 drafts of a potential relatively short peace agreement. So some good news there coming out of the Caucasus. And we have a map here showing the location of U.S. and NATO and Western forces in the Middle East. And you can see here a massive concentration of naval forces in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. Look at this. This is just absolutely insane. The entire Dwight Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group is right near the Bab al-Mandeb Strait. And here we have a screenshot from earlier today showing 2 U.S. nuclear war command and control planes up in the air at the same time over the United States. So the U.S. is definitely maintaining a high level of readiness of its nuclear forces. And we have an update on the volcano in Iceland from the Icelandic Met Office. And in their latest update, they're saying that there's ground deformation occurring in the Svartsengi region, and the rate of deformation is now similar to before the eruption on December the 18th, which means that magma is continuing to accumulate under Svartsengi. Therefore, it is increasingly likely that another magma intrusion will occur, possibly leading to a second volcanic eruption. Okay, so they're saying another volcanic eruption could happen at this volcano very, very soon. So that's the latest breaking news that I have, guys. I will be back later on this evening with some more breaking news. So make sure you're subscribed. Hit the bell icon below so you get notified when I post these updates. And until next time, take care. God bless. And don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.